Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having us. So I'm the one that Mark said would say, I don't know the answer to this question and I don't have a magic bullet. So I told him straight out, we've tried a bunch of different things. Some things worked, some things didn't. And so he asked me to come and kind of tell our story, what we're working on, what we've looked at, and what we're doing. So if anybody knows me, they know I'm a data person. So the first thing I always do when we say we think we have a problem is I say pull the data. And so when we pulled our data, we looked at our data in a couple different ways. We said, let's look at how many of our admissions in 2018 came in and left within 60 days, 61 to 180 days, and 180 days plus. And that data showed us that we had a large number of people leaving in 60 days or less. That sent up a big flag for us. We then said, let's look at it by counselor. Is there a difference between our counselors and what we're seeing with our counselors? And that was pretty steady. Really didn't matter which counselor you had, you were still leaving. So we said, okay, so it's not specific to any of our staff. We looked at it by funder. The percentages didn't matter whether you had commercial, whether it was DCF dollars, or whether it was Medicaid. You were still leaving at the same rate, percentage-wise. And then we looked at it and said, what's the discharge? The reason for discharge. We said there's pretty big numbers in terms of use of substances, high-risk substances, that they were voluntarily leaving or withdrawing, so unplanned withdrawals, or we were administratively discharging. So those were our three big reasons why they were leaving. So we took this data and we moved it to our medical and pharmacy committee, because we said our medical and pharmacy committee has our medical staff, our nursing staff, and key clinical people. We said, these are really the people that we need to have around the table to start this conversation. When we presented the data, one of the first things our physicians said is, we think we need to engage faster with the patients. So we see them at admission and we see them at 30 days. We think we need to see them in between that. We were like, great, who thought a physician would offer to be doing more when, given the resources we have? So what we came up with is the physician said, we want to see them admission, 10 days, and 30 days. We said, great. Made all the changes to the schedule. Nurses got into the schedules, made sure that the patients were scheduled within 10, for that 10th day. We did it for 2 months, came back, and we said, great news. Look at our data. We have a 10% increase in retention by moving that up. We were so excited. The committee's like, oh, this is great. And the physician said, that's wonderful. We can't sustain this. We were like, are you kidding? We found something that it wasn't huge retention. I mean, it didn't jump 50% more, but it was 10% more in a short amount of time. So we thought, this is great. This is going to work. And they said, we can't do it. So we said, what is doable? They said, let's push it back to 21 days. And so we'll see med admission and then 21 days. We said, great. We looked at the data. A couple months later, no difference between 21 days and the 30 days. So we said that didn't work. So what's next? So our physician said, let's do 10 to 14 days. 10 days was a little too tight and too many people. But if you gave us a range of 10 to 14 days, let's see if that works. So we tried that. We're seeing some improvements. I haven't been doing it long enough to see if the data shows out, but we have seen an increase in retention. So that's one of the things we're exploring now. My physicians haven't come back and said we can retain this and continue this, but that's what we've tried. So we tried that, and we found that physician involvement with the patient during that first initial 30 days had a big impact because the patients are going through a lot in that first 30 days. Right? And they're stabilizing, they're finding the right dose, they're going through, they're starting to recognize what's happening. And so we said we needed to get the physicians more involved. So I don't know if that's going to actually long-term be an impact on retention, but we certainly found in a short term that that is. So 10 to 14 days is what we're looking at. So we were super excited about that. Then we looked at the usage of other substances, right? The high-risk substances, typically benzos, sometimes alcohol, sometimes other opiates. So we said, what are we doing with that? And so the physicians told us, you know what happens if they're using benzos, we end up staffing them. If they continue using benzos, we require they go into a higher level of care. And we said, okay, so let's play this out. Person is coming into our program and they've been unstructured in their lives. We're requiring them to come every day to treatment. And now you're telling me on top of that, they're going to go into IOP, which is 9 hours per week on top of that for 12 weeks. And they said, yes. And we said, and we wonder why they're leaving the first 60 days, right? And the physician said, that probably doesn't make sense, right? When you lay it out that way, that's probably not going to be super effective. So what they said is, let's try sending them for a psych eval. If they use benzos, we staff them, they don't stop, we're going to require that they meet with the physician for a psych eval to see what else is going on and what other interventions we can do. I don't have the data to tell you whether that's working or not. So we've implemented that, we've got the data, but it's not enough data to see if that made a difference in retention. So can't tell you if that worked or not, but we're certainly trying it. The other thing we asked the physicians to do, and we gave them the homework to do, is said, now that you know there's best practices on benzo use with MAT, we want you to look at those best practices and tell us what we should be doing based on those best practices and what are you going to change in the way we deliver care. So I don't know what they're going to come back with that, but we certainly gave them that homework and said the physicians had to talk and come back to Medical and Pharmacy Committee and tell us what was going to happen. So we'll see what that goes on with that. In terms of the unplanned withdrawals, right? So we looked at that and said, wow, what's going on with that? Patients just stopped showing up. Why are they stopped showing up? When we looked at that, we said, first thing we noticed is they change their phone numbers frequently. We can't even reach them to find out why they didn't come back. So one of the things we're looking at and our staff is exploring is how frequently should we be checking the contact information? Because they certainly weren't checking it every day that the patient came in. And then we said that's probably not realistic, our staff won't do that. And then we were saying, should it be the counselor, should it be the front desk when they check in? Who should be getting the information and how frequently? So my team's looking at that right now, because one of the things we do know is we don't even have a way to reach the patient when they decide they're not coming anymore. Their phone numbers aren't valid. So that's one thing that we're trying, so at least then we have an opportunity to re-engage, should we be able to actually reach the patient. The other thing that we noticed in terms of the unplanned withdrawals is that we tend to, over time, make our programs a little bit more complex than what the regs require, right? Over time, we add things and we make it this additional step or this additional hoop you need to jump through. So we're actually looking at all of our program rules, all of the requirements that we make the patients do, and see where did we drift off of what's required? Where did we make this more complex than what's required? So our staff right now is going through all of our different protocols, all of our different program rules, all of the different hoops we make them jump through, and actually are identifying what is not in the standard so that then we can talk about it clinically of do we really need to do this? Is this something that the patient really has to do, or is this just making us feel better? So that's another thing. Again, I can't tell you if that works or not, or what we've done to change yet. We're still in the process of looking at that. The last thing in terms of unplanned withdrawals that we noticed was that in our residential program, the patients that we received court-ordered from jail to go into our residential program were leaving against medical advice quite quickly out of our program. So one of the things we did is we worked with our jails to say, we want to come in between a week and 2 weeks prior to the transfer to our program, and we want to do an assessment and start them on Vivitrol in the jail so that we can then transfer them from the jail, they're already on Vivitrol, into the program and see if that makes a difference in terms of them staying in treatment. We have done 25 of those. All 25 have remained in treatment, except one that got rearrested for charges that were pending and then had come through. So all of those patients where our LAMA rates for them were quite high, actually all of them have stayed into treatment. So that we found worked. What we also found is Department of Corrections is now having conversations with us about being able to use their money for Vivitrol to actually start that. So we're super excited about that. The contracts they're talking about changing our contract to allow us to do that. So we were super excited about that piece. The last part on the administrative discharges that we looked at was around the fact that we said, again, maybe our rules might be a little restrictive. We might have a little bit too much of a control issue and not letting what happens happens. So we said to the treatment team, you guys, before anybody discharges, the team must assess it and see if we've explored every option to keep them in treatment. Treatment team said, absolutely, we can do this. We looked at the data, absolutely no change in the data. Not even a percentage change, right? So we were like, that didn't work. So what we ended up doing is changing that up and saying that any administrative discharge must go through the program director. And the program director has to explore all of the options with that patient and with that counselor prior to that administrative discharge being taken to the treatment team. So I don't have enough data to say whether that's working or not. Initially, it's looking good, but I can't tell you if that's actually worked either. So unfortunately, I'd love to say, hey, we have all the answers, and this has worked. We've had some things that have worked, some things that have worked, but we couldn't keep up with, and then other things we're still trying. So that's kind of our story and where we're at with trying to retain patients.
Thank you, that was wonderful. Hi, guys. So I am Silvana Bicardo. I work with an organization called First Step of Sarasota. And I was actually asked to come here and talk to you last night, and I'm not really prepared for it, but I thought about it last night, and I was thinking, what can I bring to the conference that will be of value to everybody? And I thought, I have so much information because in 2017, we collaborated with some funders from the county in Sarasota. And they came up with the idea of us having, creating in what is called today the SOS program, which is substance overdose services. So the idea is an intervention program. We're going to go to the detox and the hospitals, and everybody was going to be happy to see us. And we're going to provide all this peer support, and we're going to engage clients, and they're going to go into our MAT clinic, and we're going to get them into the outpatient services and housing and everything. And the first 3 months of the program, I had all these plans, I had all this project, and I used, when I will go to screen, I will get the hand, like every day. Like, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to see you, I'm not interested. One of the major things we get even today is, I'm just going to go to a meeting and I'm going to be okay. So one of the wonderful things that happened was my agency is very open-minded in terms of applications and ideas, and like you are, looking at data, see what works, what doesn't work, and implementing new things. We served 161 clients in 2018 for the SOS program, but we screened 425 clients, meaning potential clients that could have been receiving the service that were not really at all interested in, and that we couldn't reach out for many reasons. We have a lot of homelessness on the clients that we seek out. A lot of the clients that we seek out have warrants for their arrest, so we open them up for services right away. We understand the importance of doing something quickly with them and engaging and providing support. We're very caring. We meet the clients where the clients are, and our peers. We have done anything. We have fed them. We provide housing. We go to the house. We meet the client where the client is. In any aspect of this. We have been to the jails and see them as well. We have provided the medication-assisted therapy starting in March of last year, which made a huge impact in what we do. But we still struggle with compliance, regular compliance. So a big part of our case management job is to call clients on a regular basis, remind them of their appointments. We do a lot of time management training for clients. We do a lot of, we teach them a lot of skills for trauma. We're finding that a lot of these clients come from multiple trauma settings, and they have they have sexual abuse, or they're coming from addicted families. So we do a lot of the peer work that we do is based on the DBT 12-step model that helps with emotional regulation. So I think one of the main things that makes us particularly that help us with engagement is the fact that we're very unconditional and we are non-judgmental. So clients can come to see us anytime. We go to see them when they need us, and we have that relationship with not as threatening sometimes as the word treatment would be, or when they're not ready. So last year we didn't have any overdoses. It was a really great year, but unfortunately 2019 we lost 2 clients to this disease, a 27-year-old and a 39-year-old. And the 39-year-old was a drug court client that completed a year of treatment. And the day that he graduated, he told us that he was going to go party that night. And he died. So we take this very seriously, but we never forget that this is these clients need support, they need caring, and they need unconditional, we call it unconditional love. We try to make it so clients understand that they can come to us we're their emotional compass with anything that needs to be done for them. So that's what I do. That's what we do. I forgot to say, our program has expanded. We started at just outpatient services. Now we have our team at drug court, and we have a team we have a peer now at Sarasota Memorial that we're working on to make this, provide these services, and we're working on working in the jail, having a team out in the jail as well for engagement. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kim from Gateway in Jacksonville. A lot of our retention, at least for us, starts at the referral source. We get a lot of patients through the EDs in town. And one of the biggest things right there is the peer that gets them from the ED to our detox, since we have a detox on site. Once they get to the detox, we still have peers that work in there. They still continue to follow them. And they're assessed for MAT right then and there. And typically within 24 hours, they are placed on buprenorphine if that is what they choose, which is the majority of the patients do choose that. They see the physician and they have an assessment. The physicians that they see in detox are the same ones that are providing care in our clinic. Once they're done in detox, we transition them either to residential if we have the room, or they'll go to outpatient. One of the things that we've kind of learned during this, it's a very simple thing, is that they get lost between the detox and your first appointment in the MAT clinic and outpatient. We always try to make sure, actually they always leave, or should always leave, with at least 8 days of medication when they leave detox, as well as have an appointment already scheduled. They should have an appointment card. We discovered there was a little bit of confusion. They didn't know where to go, what to bring when they come to their first appointment, so we made a very simple little guide of what's next. What's next between detox and MAT treatment. It tells them what they need to do, when they need to call, phone numbers, what to expect at your first appointment. We also did one just in general from detox into regular outpatient treatment. It's the same thing. It tells them what they need to bring for their financial evaluation. That has seemed to help a little bit. They're not as confused. once they leave, because they're not paying a whole lot of attention to what you have to say a lot of times while they're in detox. The peers are very helpful. They're holding their hand, getting them from place to place. That warm handoff is very important. They get them a lot of times from detox into the clinic, even if it's just to bring them over to the clinic, confirm their appointment, show them where it's going to be. Follow up and make sure they come to their first appointment. We follow up and make sure that they start their groups. Everybody plays a part in retention. We even down to our person that does our scheduling. If the patients are having trouble getting in, we schedule everything that we can around their treatment schedule. So if they only have to come in twice a week, that's all we make them come in twice a week. We don't add it on another day. We try and work with what they can do. If they have a hard time even remembering that, then you might get the 8 o'clock spot for the next 6 months on Monday mornings. So they can expect to come in, based on where they are. If patients are having issues with attendance, coming up positive on their drug screens, we have a staffing on a weekly basis, in which it includes our counseling staff, our medical staff, peers, case managers, and we all get together and we decide what a plan is. What are we going to do? That way everybody knows what the plan is. The plan may be as simple as, okay, when they come in for their next buprenorphine appointment, because they're probably going to show for that, we need to make sure that you go and get the counselor. Make sure the counselor knows that they're there. Whoever else that they need to meet with that day, so that we can continue to keep them engaged in treatment. So that's one of the big things. And at that point in time, a lot of times we decide we need to adjust their level of care, whether it's up, down, do they need to go to detox, we think, the next time that they come in. So we go through all of that. One of the other things is we don't arbitrarily apply the rules. Everybody is individual and they all have individual circumstances. So if you come up positive on your drug screens, that's not an automatic out, even if it's 3. We have people that are positive the whole time that they are with us. We've had people that have been positive for THC for a year, probably. They're not using heroin. So we continue to work with them. It becomes a treatment issue. We encourage engagement in outpatient, as well as any kind of support groups that they want to attend. That's one of the big things. Same thing with pill counts. We pull people in for pill counts, random drug screens. If you come up positive, that's fine. If you come up short, that's fine. It may change your schedule a little bit. Instead of coming in every 2 weeks or once a month, you may have to come in weekly for a little bit. One of the other things we do is we only give them enough medication to last a day or 2 past their scheduled appointment. So we're not automatically giving everybody 30 days and saying, we'll see you later. Especially in the beginning, it's weekly, may eventually go to 2 weeks and then a month. And then at any time during that time, once you're at a month, if we see that you're struggling, we may bring you back a little bit more frequently. We do things like we schedule your medication appointment after your treatment. But if you're struggling coming into your treatment and we know that you need to do these things, we might just tell you, hey, stick your head in the clinic, let us know that you're here, and we'll call in the remainder of your month. It's just that we know you got here, we know you're putting some effort into it, that we're going to continue to do that. Diversion is another thing that I'm sure everybody struggles with. We actually had kind of a little ring going on, trading pills and that type of thing, right around Christmas time. So you can't get rid of everybody. So you can't, exactly, there's a lot of money for presents. So you can't get rid of everybody. So what we did was we ended up starting to call people in for random pill counts. Once we got 1 random pill count and the 2nd random pill count, people started paying attention. They also all talk, they're all in group together, they all know what's going on. They come in and spill that so-and-so, they called you for a pill count, he was gonna be short, that type of thing. So we kind of know what's going on. But that's not a reason for us to get rid of them and kick them out. We continue to work with them. If they come up short sometimes, the The physicians work with them and figure out, are you short because you sold it, or are you short because you actually need a dose adjustment? If you're self-medicating a little extra, maybe that's what we need to do, and look at that instead of just cutting you off and saying that you didn't follow our rules. We work with the peers, the case manager, the nurses. If people don't show up, we go ahead and give them a call as quickly as we can. Typically, it's the next day. They call them and figure out what's going on, especially if they don't, it's a couple days past their medicine is out. We go ahead and make sure that we try and track them down and see what's going on, if we can get them in. We don't typically call in bridge scripts. If we do need to do that, it's possibly just to get you a day or two to get you into the clinic. Especially, you know, pregnant women, that's an automatic. You got to get them in quickly as you can. Some other people, it may just be you didn't come in, you were busy, I can't give you a bridge script because I don't have a, you know, I can't give you an unlimited bridge script. But I can go ahead, if you come in and drop, just at the lab, you don't have to come in and see us, you take half an hour, come in and drop, we'll get your drug screen, and then we'll go ahead and see you in a couple days, but we'll make sure you have medication at the clinic. So those are really the big things. It's that supportive handoff. It's following them through, learning about their life. That's one of the biggest things that has made a difference, I think, and the patients have even, you know, remarked, I like coming here because you guys listen and you know what's going on. We're not worried about getting people in and out in 15 minutes. That's not the point. The point is that we know what's going on in their life and that we can make adjustments and they feel heard. So that's a big thing. We always try and look at that entire picture, not just what they didn't do or what, you know, they're not following our rules. You know, if they're coming in and they're getting medication, they're still alive, and that's the biggest thing.
Can we give them a round of applause?